The morning sun rose over New Haven like it had for the past 20 years. Daniel Harris stood on the observation deck of the colony headquarters, watching farmers head out to their fields. The coffee in his hand was still hot and the day seemed perfect. He had no way of knowing that in 6 hours everything would be gone. New Haven was home to 50,000 people. They grew crops, raised families, and built a life far from Earth. The planet had blue skies, clean water, and soil that could grow anything. Children went to school. Adults worked their jobs. It was peaceful, quiet, and exactly what humanity had hoped to find among the stars. Daniel commanded the colony defense force, though it was a small operation. They had 12 patrol ships, nothing fancy. Their job was to keep pirates away and help with emergencies. Real military threats seemed impossible out here. They were so far from everything that most people forgot New Haven even existed. Lisa Morgan entered the observation deck carrying her tablet. She was the chief medical officer and Daniel's closest friend. They had come to New Haven together, young and full of hope. Now they were both in their 40s, content with the simple life they had built. "Morning, Daniel," she said. "The Peterson family just had twins. Both healthy," Daniel smiled. "That's good news. How many does that make this year?" 47 births so far. "We're growing." The alarm interrupted their conversation. It was not the usual alert. This was the long-range sensor warning, something they had never heard before in all their years on New Haven. Daniel ran to the command center. Jacob Stone, a young officer barely 25 years old, was already at the sensor station. His face was pale. "Captain, we have incoming ships," Jacob said. "Multiple contacts. Big ones. How many?" 15. "Maybe 20. They're massive, sir. Way bigger than anything we have." Daniel felt his stomach drop. "Are they responding to hails?" "Yes, sir. They're asking to speak with whoever is in charge." The main screen flickered to life. The alien on the screen was tall and covered in dark scales. Its eyes were yellow and cold. Daniel had seen pictures of different alien species, but he had never seen this one before. "I am Commander Vrex of the Vrexian Collective," the alien said. Its voice was harsh and mechanical through the translator. "This planet is within our territorial boundary. Your presence here is illegal." Daniel tried to stay calm. "Commander, I'm Captain Daniel Harris. We've been here for 20 years. We had no idea this was claimed territory. We can discuss this." "There is nothing to discuss. You will evacuate this world within 48 hours. After that time, we will begin cleansing operations." "Cleansing operations?" "Commander, please. We have 50,000 people here. We need more time. We need to contact Earth. 48 hours. This is our only warning." The screen went dark. Lisa had followed Daniel to the command center. Did that just happen? "Are they serious?" "Get Mayor Grant up here now and send an emergency message to Earth. Tell them everything." The next 2 hours were chaos. Mayor Peter Grant tried to organize an evacuation, but it was impossible. They had transport ships, but not enough for everyone. And where would they go? The nearest human colony was months away. Earth was even farther. Daniel called an emergency meeting with his officers and the mayor. The small command room felt cramped with everyone inside. "We've tried negotiating again," Daniel said. "They won't respond to any more messages. I think they're serious about this deadline." "Can we fight them?" Jacob asked. The young officer looked scared but determined. Daniel shook his head. 15 warships against our 12 patrol boats? We wouldn't last 10 minutes in a straight fight." "So we just leave?" Lisa asked. "Abandon everything?" "We can't leave," Mayor Grant said quietly. "We don't have enough ships. Even if we packed them full, we could maybe evacuate 20,000 people. What about the other 30,000? The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. "Then we fight," Daniel said. "We buy time. We get as many people off this planet as we can, and we hope Earth sends help." They spent the next 40 hours preparing. Families with young children were prioritized for evacuation. The transport ships launched one after another, carrying crying children and desperate parents. Daniel watched them go, knowing many families were being torn apart. Lisa refused to leave. "My place is here," she told Daniel. "People are going to get hurt. They'll need doctors." Jacob organized the militia. Farmers and teachers and shopkeepers picked up weapons they barely knew how to use. Daniel assigned them defensive positions around the main settlement. It would not be enough, but it was something. The Vrexian ships appeared in the sky exactly 48 hours after their first contact. They did not send another warning. They just started firing. The first blast destroyed the hospital, Lisa's hospital. Daniel watched from the command center as the building exploded into flames. He tried to reach her on the radio, but there was only static. All units, return fire. Daniel shouted, but his voice sounded hollow even to himself. The patrol ships launched and immediately engaged the enemy. They managed to damage one Vrexian vessel before 3 patrol boats were destroyed. The explosions lit up the sky like terrible fireworks. The bombardment continued. Buildings that had stood for 20 years vanished in seconds. The school where children had learned to read. The town hall where people had voted and argued and made decisions together. The farms where families had worked. All of it burned. Jacob's position was hit directly. Daniel saw it happen on the tactical display. One moment the young officer was reporting his status, and the next moment there was nothing but static. All remaining forces, fall back to the mountains. Daniel ordered. Evacuation Plan Delta, move now. The survivors ran. They abandoned the settlement and fled to the emergency shelters in the northern mountains. Daniel stayed behind as long as he dared, coordinating the retreat. When the command center started taking fire, he finally ran too. He found Lisa 3 hours later in one of the mountain caves. She was alive but covered in dust and blood. She was treating wounded civilians with whatever supplies she had managed to grab. Her hospital was gone, so she worked on the cave floor. How many? Daniel asked. I don't know. Thousands dead, maybe more. That night, Daniel stood at the cave entrance and looked down at the burning settlement. 20 years of human dreams and effort reduced to ashes. The Vrexian ships still circled overhead like predators. He thought about Earth, months away. He thought about the message he had sent, begging for help. He wondered if anyone would come. He wondered if anyone would even care about one forgotten colony on the edge of space. Daniel made himself a promise in that moment. If he survived this, the galaxy would remember New Haven. Humanity would remember, and someone would pay for what happened here. The Vrexians had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed humans would forget. They had assumed humans would accept this loss and move on. They did not understand humanity at all. Mankind always remembers. The message from New Haven reached Earth 6 months later. Admiral Richard Cole was in a meeting when his assistant interrupted with urgent news. He excused himself and went to his private office to read the report. By the time he finished, his hands were shaking with rage. 50,000 people. Gone. The Vrexian collective had not even tried to negotiate. They had simply decided the planet was theirs and destroyed everyone who disagreed. The report included footage from security cameras. Cole forced himself to watch it all. He watched the hospital explode. He watched civilians running through burning streets. He watched children crying for parents who would never answer. When the footage ended, Cole sat in silence for a long time. Then he picked up his phone and made several calls. Within an hour, he had meetings scheduled with every important military leader on Earth. Senator Helen Brooks was the first civilian he contacted. She represented the outer colonies in the Earth government and had always supported a strong military. When Cole showed her the footage, she went pale. How many survived? She asked. About 15,000 made it to the mountains. They're living in caves now, waiting for rescue ships, but the colony is destroyed. Everything they built is gone. The Galactic Council needs to hear about this. They already know, Cole said bitterly. I received their response this morning. They suggest we accept the loss and avoid escalating tensions with the Vrexian collective. Helen stood up so fast her chair fell over. Accept the loss? They murdered 50,000 civilians. The council says the Vrexians are too powerful to fight. They recommend we negotiate new boundaries and move on. And what do you think, Admiral? Cole looked at her directly. I think the council is full of cowards, and I think humanity needs to send a very clear message about what happens when someone attacks our people. Over the next weeks, the news spread across Earth and the colonies. People were horrified. They were angry. But more than that, they were determined. Humanity had always prided itself on protecting its own. The idea of simply accepting this massacre was unthinkable. Karen White became the face of New Haven survivors. She had been a teacher there, and she had escaped with her 6-year-old daughter. Now she traveled from colony to colony, showing the footage and telling her story. She spoke in schools, government buildings, and public squares. Everywhere she went, crowds gathered to listen. My daughter asks me every night when we can go home, Karen would say. How do I tell her there is no home anymore? How do I explain that the galaxy thinks we should just forget? Her speeches were powerful. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Politicians who suggested caution found themselves voted out. New candidates ran on platforms of military strength and justice for New Haven. Meanwhile, Commander Paul Bennett worked in military intelligence. His job was to track alien movements and assess threats. After New Haven, he started investigating the Vrexian collective more carefully. What he found disturbed him greatly. New Haven was not the first colony they had destroyed. Bennett discovered records of 3 other incidents over the past decade. The Vrexians had attacked settlements belonging to weaker alien species. Each time, the victims had appealed to the Galactic Council. Each time the Council had done nothing. They're expanding their territory through intimidation, Bennett explained to Admiral Cole. They pick targets that can't fight back. They destroy them quickly and completely. Then everyone else gets scared and stays out of their way. Not this time, Cole said. This time they picked the wrong target. Senator Brooks worked her political connections. She held private meetings with other senators and representatives. She showed them Bennett's research. She played Karen White's speeches. Slowly, carefully, she built support for military action. The public debate was fierce. Some people argued that fighting the Vrexians would lead to more deaths. They said humanity should focus on defense, not revenge. Others said that letting New Haven go unavenged would make humanity look weak. Every colony would become a target. Cole did not wait for the debate to finish. He began preparing the fleet quietly. He ordered supply ships loaded. He had maintenance crews working around the clock to get every available warship ready for deployment. He called in favors from old friends and colleagues. When politicians asked what he was doing, he gave vague answers about readiness drills. 8 months after New Haven's destruction, Senator Brooks introduced a resolution in the Earth government. It was carefully worded. It did not explicitly authorize war, but it gave the military broad authority to protect human interests and respond to threats. The resolution passed by a wide margin. That same week, Commander Bennett brought new intelligence to Admiral Cole. The Vrexians were planning to expand further. They had identified 6 more colony worlds in disputed territory. 3 of them were human settlements. When? Cole asked. Within the next year, according to our sources. They're building up their fleet in the sector. Cole made his decision. He requested a private meeting with Senator Brooks and showed her everything. The intelligence reports, his fleet readiness assessments, his proposed operation plans. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right, he said. We need overwhelming force. We need complete surprise. And we need to make sure the entire galaxy understands why we're doing it. Tell me what you need, Brooks said. Over the next months, 100 warships quietly gathered in orbit around Earth. It was the largest military fleet humanity had ever assembled. The crews were volunteers, many of them from the outer colonies. They knew what they were signing up for. Karen White addressed the fleet before they departed. She stood on the flagship's hangar deck with her daughter beside her. Thousands of crew members listened to her words. My friends died on New Haven, she said. My neighbors. My students. People I loved. The Vrexians thought we would forget them. They thought humanity would move on and pretend it never happened. They were wrong. She held up a tablet showing pictures of New Haven before the attack. Happy families. Beautiful buildings. Children playing in parks. This is what they destroyed. These are the people they killed. We're not going out there for revenge. We're going for justice. We're going to make sure this never happens again to anyone. And we're going to show the galaxy that humanity remembers. The fleet departed Earth without fanfare. No parades. No ceremonies. They simply slipped away into the darkness of space, moving silently toward Vrexian territory. Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of his flagship and thought about Daniel Harris, still trapped on New Haven with the other survivors. Rescue ships had finally reached them, but the colony itself was beyond saving. Cole had spoken with Harris by video link. The man looked broken but determined. Make them pay, Harris had said. Don't let them think they can do this to us and walk away. Cole had promised he would. Now he was keeping that promise. The fleet moved through space in complete communication silence. No transmissions. No signals. They drifted like ghosts, using minimal power to avoid detection. It would take them months to reach their first target, but Cole did not mind. He wanted time to prepare. He wanted his crews trained to perfection. He wanted his officers studying every piece of intelligence they had on Vrexian tactics and technology. Lieutenant Amy Foster was the tactical officer on the flagship. She was brilliant, only 30 years old but already recognized as one of the best strategic minds in the fleet. She spent her days analyzing Vrexian technology, looking for weaknesses. One day she came to Cole with a discovery. "They're shields, sir. They use a harmonic frequency that's very efficient, but has a critical vulnerability. If we can hit them with a specific wavelength, we can collapse their shields entirely." "How specific?" "Very. But I can program it into our weapon systems. Every ship in the fleet can be modified." "Do it," Cole ordered. "And don't tell anyone outside the fleet. I want this to be a complete surprise." The modifications took weeks, but when they were done, the human fleet had a weapon the Vrexians had never encountered. Cole smiled grimly. The aliens thought they knew humanity. They thought humans were weak, scattered, and easily intimidated. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As the fleet approached Vrexian space, Cole recorded a message. It would be broadcast on all frequencies when the time came. He spoke calmly and clearly, looking directly into the camera. "This is Admiral Richard Cole of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are coming for the ones who destroyed New Haven. We remember every person who died there. We remember their names, their faces, their lives. The Vrexian collective thought we would forget. They thought we would accept their actions and move on. They made a terrible mistake. Humanity never forgets, and now we're going to teach them why that matters." The human fleet had been traveling for 11 months. They moved through empty space like silent hunters, avoiding trade routes and populated systems. Admiral Cole wanted complete surprise. The Vrexians needed to believe humanity had accepted their loss and moved on. Captain Martin Shaw commanded the flagship, a massive warship called Retribution. The name had been chosen carefully. This was not a mission of exploration or diplomacy. This was about making the Vrexians pay for what they had done. Shaw was a veteran of 30 years in the military. He had fought pirates, settled disputes, and commanded peacekeeping missions. But this was different. This was war, pure and simple. He had watched the New Haven footage like everyone else, and it had changed something inside him. He wanted justice for those people. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked 18-hour days on the bridge. Her discovery about the Vrexian shield weakness had been confirmed and refined. Every weapon system in the fleet had been modified. In simulations, they could drop a Vrexian shield in less than 3 seconds. The question was whether it would work in actual combat. "Run it again," Amy told her team. "I want to test it 1,000 times before we need it." Chief Engineer Greg Palmer kept the fleet running smoothly. It was a massive challenge. 100 warships traveling together needed constant maintenance. Reactors had to be monitored. Weapon systems had to be tested. Life support had to remain stable. Palmer rarely slept, moving from ship to solve problems. He had also made improvements. By adjusting reactor output patterns, he had increased power efficiency by 30%. It meant the fleet could push their weapons harder and their shields stronger. In a battle, that extra power could mean the difference between victory and death. The fleet's first contact with the Vrexians happened near the edge of their territory. Human scout ships detected a patrol of 5 Vrexian vessels. Admiral Cole gathered his senior officers to discuss options. "We could destroy them," Martin Shaw suggested. "Prevent them from reporting our presence." Cole shook his head. "No, let one escape. I want them to know we're coming." "Sir?" "The Vrexians need to understand this isn't random. This isn't some rogue attack. This is humanity delivering a message." Amy Foster looked confused. "Won't that cost us the element of surprise?" "Tactical surprise, yes. But psychological surprise? No, they think we're weak. They think we'll negotiate or run away. I want them scared. I want them wondering what we're capable of. Fear will make them sloppy." The human scouts engaged the Vrexian patrol. The battle was brief and decisive. 4 Vrexian ships were destroyed in minutes. The 5th tried to run and the humans let it go. But first they transmitted a message. The message was simple. Just one sentence repeated on all frequencies in the Vrexian language. "New Haven remembers." Admiral Cole waited 12 hours. Then he broadcast his real message. It went out on every communications channel, civilian and military. It reached Vrexian colonies' outposts and their homeworld. It reached the Galactic Council. It reached every species in known space. Cole appeared on screen in his dress uniform. Behind him stood rows of officers, all standing at attention. He spoke calmly, but his words carried enormous weight. "I am Admiral Richard Cole of the Earth Defense Fleet. 1 year ago, the Vrexian Collective destroyed the human colony of New Haven. They killed 50,000 innocent civilians, men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong except exist in a place the Vrexians wanted." He paused, letting the words sink in. "The Galactic Council suggested we forget this. They suggested we negotiate new boundaries and move on with our lives. We have chosen a different path. Over the next 72 hours, we will broadcast the name of every single person who died at New Haven. All 50,000 names. We will read them aloud so the galaxy can understand what was lost." Cole's expression hardened. The Vrexian Collective thought humanity would forget these people. They thought we would accept their deaths as the price of galactic politics. They were wrong. We remember them all. Every single one. And now we are here to collect payment for their lives. The broadcast cut to a list of names. A calm voice began reading them aloud one after another. The broadcast continued for 3 full days, never stopping. 50,000 names. 50,000 lives. Each one spoken clearly and carefully. On the Vrexian homeworld, military leaders watched the broadcast with growing concern. Some dismissed it as primitive emotion. Others were not so sure. The human fleet was real. The destroyed patrol ships were real. And something about the broadcast unsettled them. There was no anger in the voice reading the names. No rage or threats. Just a calm, methodical listing of the dead. It was somehow more frightening than any threat could have been. Vrexian Commander Thexeral was assigned to assess the human threat. He studied everything available about human military capabilities. On paper, humanity was not particularly impressive. Their ships were smaller than Vrexian vessels. Their weapons were less powerful. Their fleet was newer and less experienced. But something bothered Thexeral. Humans had a strange reputation among the few species who had dealt with them. They were stubborn. They adapted quickly. They rarely gave up once they decided on a course of action. And they held grudges. "We should take this seriously," Thexeral reported to his superiors. "The humans are clearly not behaving rationally. That makes them dangerous." "They have 100 ships," his commander replied. "We have over 300 in this sector alone. Let them come. We will crush them and teach the galaxy what happens when inferior species challenge us." Thexeral was not convinced, but he had his orders. He prepared his forces for the coming battle. The human fleet reached their first target 3 days after the name broadcast ended. It was a Vrexian military outpost, a fortress orbiting a barren moon. The outpost controlled a key trade route and served as a forward base for Vrexian expansion. Admiral Cole gave the order to attack at dawn, though in space dawn was just a convenient fiction. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly on top of the outpost. The Vrexians had only minutes of warning. "All ships, this is the flagship," Martin Shaw broadcast. "Weapons free. Show them what humans remember." The battle began. Vrexian ships launched from the outpost, forming defensive positions. They outnumbered the human attackers 2 to 1. Their weapons were powerful. Their shields were strong. Every tactical advantage belonged to them. Then Amy Foster activated her modifications. Human weapons fired at the specific frequency she had calculated. The Vrexian shields flickered and collapsed. Every single one, all at once. The Vrexian ships suddenly found themselves naked in space, facing an enemy they had underestimated. Human weapons tore through hulls that had no protection. Missiles struck targets that had no defense. The battle that should have been difficult became a massacre. 40 minutes later, the outpost was destroyed. Every Vrexian military ship was gone. The humans had lost 2 vessels and suffered moderate damage to 5 others. But Admiral Cole was not done. He had the fleet systematically destroy every military installation on the outpost, the weapons platforms, the sensor arrays, the communications equipment, everything that could be used for war. Then he did something the Vrexians did not expect. He broadcast a warning to the civilian sections of the outpost. He gave them 6 hours to evacuate. He told them exactly which escape routes would be safe. "We are not here to kill civilians," Cole's message said. "We are here to dismantle your military. Anyone who does not resist will not be harmed. This is more mercy than you showed New Haven." The civilians evacuated. When they were clear, Cole destroyed the rest of the outpost. But he made sure every civilian transport escaped safely. News of the battle spread quickly. The Galactic Council sent urgent messages demanding humanity cease operations. Other alien species watched nervously. Some quietly approved of what humanity was doing. The Vrexians had bullied many species over the years, and seeing them humbled was satisfying. But the Vrexians themselves were shocked. They had lost a major military installation in less than an hour. The humans had destroyed their shields like they were nothing, and somehow that made the defeat more terrifying. The Vrexians realized they were fighting an enemy they did not understand. Commander Thexral studied the battle reports. He noticed the careful evacuation of civilians. He noticed the precise targeting of only military assets. The humans were not fighting like animals. They were fighting with purpose and discipline. They are making a point, he told his officers. They want us to know they could kill everyone, but they choose not to. They want us to understand the difference between them and us. What difference is that? An officer asked. We destroyed New Haven completely. Civilians, children, everyone. They are showing us they are better than we are, and they are doing it while winning. Admiral Cole was not finished. The fleet moved to the next target, then the next. Over the following months, they systematically destroyed Vrexian military infrastructure. Colony defenses, weapons platforms, patrol bases. Each time they gave civilians a chance to evacuate. Each time they broadcast the names from New Haven before they attacked. The message was clear. Humanity remembered, and they would keep remembering until justice was done. 3 months into the campaign, the human fleet had destroyed 18 Vrexian military installations. Admiral Cole's strategy was working perfectly. The shield modifications continued to give them an overwhelming advantage. But more importantly, the psychological warfare was devastating Vrexian morale. Lisa Morgan had joined the fleet 2 months earlier. After New Haven was destroyed, she had spent months helping survivors cope with their trauma. But eventually she decided she needed to be part of the response. The fleet needed medical personnel, and she wanted to contribute to the mission. Now she worked in the medical bay of the Retribution, treating wounded from both sides. After each battle, human ships would recover escape pods and survivors from destroyed Vrexian vessels. Lisa treated them all with the same care and professionalism she had shown on New Haven. Some of the human crew questioned this. Why save the enemy? Why waste resources on people who had supported the destruction of their colony? Because we're better than they are, Lisa would answer. They killed civilians without mercy. We show mercy even to enemy soldiers. That's the difference between us and them. Admiral Cole visited the medical bay one day after a particularly fierce battle. He watched Lisa working on a wounded Vrexian officer, carefully setting a broken limb while the alien watched her with confused eyes. Why do you help me? The Vrexian asked through a translator. My people killed yours. Lisa looked at him directly. Because you're hurt and I'm a doctor. That's reason enough. After she finished, Cole spoke with her privately. You know they're watching, right? Everything we do gets reported back to Vrexian Command. They're seeing footage of you treating their wounded. Good, Lisa said. Let them see the difference between their values and ours. The Galactic Council continued to demand that humanity stop their offensive. 3 different ambassadors traveled to meet with Admiral Cole, trying to negotiate a ceasefire. Cole received them politely but refused every request. We will stop when the Vrexians surrender unconditionally, he told them. Not before. You're destabilizing the entire sector, one ambassador argued. Other species are getting nervous. They fear humanity is becoming too aggressive. Then those species should remember what started this, Cole replied coldly. We didn't want this war. The Vrexians destroyed an entire colony without provocation. If other species are nervous, they should ask themselves whether they want to be known for standing with murderers or standing with justice. The ambassadors left without making progress. Cole did not care. He had his mission, and he would complete it. Meanwhile, Vrexian Commander Thexral was being promoted to overall defensive coordinator. His superiors finally realized he had been right about the human threat. They needed someone who understood the enemy, and Thexral had been studying humanity carefully. He implemented new tactics. Instead of defending fixed positions, he used mobile fleets that could concentrate force quickly. He studied the human attack patterns and tried to anticipate their next targets. He even copied their strategy of evacuating civilians before battles, which saved thousands of Vrexian lives. But nothing seemed to work. The humans adapted to every change. When Thexerel tried mobile defenses, the humans used better intelligence to track his fleets. When he tried to ambush them, they detected his ships and avoided the trap. It was like fighting an enemy that could read his mind. The truth was simpler. Commander Paul Bennett, working from Earth, had built an extensive intelligence network. He had informants in Vrexian territories. He had broken their communication codes. He knew what Thexerel was planning almost as quickly as Thexerel did. Amy Foster continued to refine her weapon systems. The Vrexians had started using different shield frequencies, trying to counter her modifications, so she developed adaptive algorithms that could adjust in real time. The human weapons stayed one step ahead, always finding the weakness in enemy defenses. Chief Engineer Greg Palmer pushed the fleet's capabilities even further. He developed new reactor configurations that increased power output another 15%. He improved shield efficiency. He even managed to boost engine performance, making the ships faster and more maneuverable. The campaign continued through multiple star systems. Each victory made the next one easier. Vrexian morale crumbled as they realized they could not win. Soldiers began surrendering rather than fighting to the death. Some outposts evacuated before the humans even arrived, choosing to abandon their positions rather than face certain destruction. Captain Martin Shaw led several ground operations to secure abandoned facilities. His teams found interesting intelligence, including records of the original decision to attack New Haven. Shaw read the reports with growing disgust. The Vrexians had known New Haven was inhabited. They had known it was a peaceful colony. They had attacked anyway because they believed humans were weak and would not retaliate. The entire massacre had been calculated, cold-blooded, and completely unnecessary. Shaw shared these documents with the fleet. The crew's determination hardened. They were not fighting for revenge anymore. They were fighting to ensure this never happened again. Back on Earth, Karen White continued her work. She had become humanity's voice, explaining the campaign to civilians across human space. Some people still questioned whether the war was justified. Karen would show them the intelligence Shaw's teams had found. They knew what they were doing, she would say. They killed our people deliberately, believing we were too weak to respond. Now we're teaching them the cost of that mistake. Public support for the campaign remained strong. Families who had lost loved ones at New Haven felt like justice was finally being served. Even people who had no connection to the colony understood the principle at stake. If humanity allowed this attack to go unanswered, they would become targets for every aggressive species in the galaxy. 15 months after the campaign began, the human fleet had pushed deep into Vrexian territory. They controlled 3 major star systems and had destroyed over 40 military installations. The Vrexians had lost nearly a third of their military capability. Thexerel knew the war was lost. He approached his superiors with a proposal to surrender, but they refused. The Vrexian leadership could not accept defeat. It would mean losing their status as a major power. It would mean admitting they had been wrong about humanity. Instead, they ordered a massive counterattack. They gathered every available warship and planned to overwhelm the human fleet through sheer numbers. It would be the largest space battle in recorded galactic history. Admiral Cole received intelligence about the planned attack from Commander Bennett. He studied the reports carefully, then called his senior officers together. They're coming with everything they have, he told them. At least 200 ships, possibly more. They're betting everything on one decisive battle. Can we win? Martin Shaw asked. If we fight on their terms, no. We'll be outnumbered 2-1 at best, but we're not going to fight on their terms. Amy Foster smiled. She knew what Cole was thinking. We choose the battlefield. Exactly. We find a location that favors us. We use the terrain. We make them come to us on our conditions. Over the next week, the fleet positioned itself near a dense asteroid field close to a Vrexian colony world. The location was perfect. The asteroids would limit movement and provide cover. Long-range weapons would be less effective. The battle would be fought at close quarters, where human adaptability and training would matter more than raw numbers. Lisa Morgan prepared the medical bays for massive casualties. She knew this battle would be different from the others. This time, the Vrexians were not defending a static position. They were attacking with everything they had. People were going to die, probably in large numbers. She thought about New Haven often. She remembered the people she had lost. Her friends. Her patients. The children she had treated for ordinary illnesses and injuries. children who would never grow up now. This battle was for them. The Vrexian fleet arrived exactly when Commander Bennett had predicted. Thexrel commanded the operation personally. He had studied the humans for months and he knew this would be his only chance. If this attack failed, the war was over. He looked at the asteroid field where the humans waited and understood immediately. The humans had chosen their ground perfectly, but he had no choice. His orders were clear. Attack and destroy the human fleet. All ships advance, Thexrel ordered. For the collective. The human fleet waited silently among the asteroids. Admiral Cole watched the enemy approach on his tactical display. He thought about the 50,000 names they had broadcast. He thought about Daniel Harris and the other survivors, waiting on Earth to hear the outcome of this battle. All ships, this is Cole, he broadcast to his fleet. Today we finish what the Vrexians started at New Haven. Today we show them that humanity protects its own. Today we make them remember. All ships weapons free, the battle began. The largest space battle in galactic history erupted among the asteroids, and the galaxy watched to see whether humanity's determination could overcome impossible odds. The battle among the asteroids was chaos. Ships weaved between rocks the size of mountains while weapons fire lit up the darkness. The Vrexians had numbers, but the humans had position and preparation. Every advantage Admiral Cole had planned for came into play. Amy Foster coordinated the fleet's weapons from the bridge of the Retribution. Her modifications to target the shield frequencies worked perfectly. Vrexian ships lost their protection within seconds of engaging, but there were so many of them. For every ship the humans destroyed, 2 more took its place. Captain Martin Shaw commanded his vessel through impossible maneuvers, using asteroids for cover and striking from unexpected angles. His crew worked like a machine, each person knowing their job perfectly. They had trained for months, and it showed. Chief Engineer Greg Palmer pushed the reactors beyond their designed limits. Alarms blared in the engine rooms, but he ignored them. They needed every bit of power they could generate. The extra speed and firepower were keeping them alive. Lisa Morgan worked without stopping in the medical bay. Wounded crew members arrived in a steady stream. Burns from energy weapons, injuries from explosive decompression, broken bones from ships being thrown around by impacts. She treated them all, moving from patient to patient with practiced efficiency. The battle raged for hours. The Vrexians pressed their attack with desperate determination. Commander Thexeral directed his forces brilliantly, but it was not enough. The humans were simply better prepared. Every tactical decision he made, the humans seemed to anticipate. Every advantage he tried to create, they countered. Human ships took damage. 7 were destroyed in the first hour. 10 more were severely damaged and forced to retreat. But the Vrexian losses were catastrophic. 20 ships destroyed, 30 disabled. The asteroid field became a graveyard of burning wreckage. Then something happened that changed everything. A distress signal came through on human frequencies. It was old, using encryption that was months out of date. Admiral Cole almost ignored it, thinking it was a Vrexian trick. But something made him listen. This is Captain Daniel Harris of the New Haven Memorial Squadron. We're approaching your position and requesting permission to join the battle. Cole could not believe what he was hearing. Daniel Harris was supposed to be on Earth with the other survivors. Harris, confirm your identity. How are you here? It's really me, Admiral. After the rescue ships took most of the survivors home, some of us stayed behind. We salvaged what we could from New Haven. We spent 18 months making 12 ships spaceworthy. We've been following your fleet ever since, trying to catch up. We're here now, and we want to finish this. The bridge crew broke into cheers. Cole felt emotion rising in his throat, but pushed it down. Good to have you, Captain. These are your coordinates. Try to keep up. 12 small ships appeared from behind a large asteroid. They were barely holding together, patched with salvaged parts and held together by determination. But they were functional, and they were crewed by people who had survived the massacre at New Haven. Daniel Harris had spent every day since the attack preparing for this moment. He had learned to pilot a warship. He had trained his crew, all survivors like himself. They had crossed the galaxy in ships that should have fallen apart halfway through the journey, and now they were here for the final battle. The New Haven Memorial Squadron threw themselves into the fight with fury. Their ships were small and weak compared to the military vessels around them, but they fought like demons. Every crew member remembered friends and family who had died. Every shot they fired was for someone they had lost. The Vrexians had been steadily advancing despite their losses. Commander Thexral had identified a weak point in the human formation and was pressing the attack. Just a little more pressure and the human line would break. Then the Memorial Squadron appeared. 12 small ships positioning themselves exactly where Thexral was pushing hardest. They were not strong enough to stop his forces, but they bought time. Time for Admiral Cole to reinforce that section. Time for Amy Foster to retarget weapons. Time for the human fleet to adjust. Thexral watched his advantage disappear. He had been so close. Now the moment was lost. He looked at his tactical display and realized with cold certainty that he was going to lose this battle. The humans had every advantage. Better technology, better tactics, and something his people did not have anymore. Absolute conviction that their cause was just. All ships, full retreat, Thexral ordered. Fall back to the homeworld. Some of his officers protested, but Thexral overruled them. It's over. If we keep fighting here, they'll destroy the entire fleet. At least if we retreat, we can defend our colonies. The Vrexian fleet withdrew, leaving behind dozens of destroyed ships. The humans did not pursue immediately. They needed to assess damage and recover their wounded. The battle had been won, but at a cost. 15 human ships destroyed. 23 damaged so badly they needed extensive repairs. Lisa Morgan worked through the night treating casualties. Daniel Harris brought his wounded to the Retribution's medical bay. Lisa looked up from a patient and saw him standing there. They stared at each other for a moment, then embraced. Two survivors of New Haven reunited in the middle of a war. I thought you were safe on Earth, Lisa said. I couldn't stay there. Not while this was happening. We needed to be part of this. Admiral Cole gave the fleet 3 days to repair and recover. Then they moved toward the Vrexian homeworld. The war was almost over, but the final act remained. The Vrexian home system was heavily defended. Orbital stations, weapons platforms, everything the collective had left was concentrated there. Admiral Cole's fleet arrived and took up positions just outside weapons range. Commander Thexral waited for the attack. He had prepared the best defense he could manage, but he knew it would not be enough. The humans would win. The only question was how many would die in the final battle. Then Admiral Cole sent a message directly to the Vrexian leadership. It was broadcast on all channels so everyone could hear it. This is Admiral Richard Cole. We have come to your homeworld not for conquest, but for justice. We have dismantled your military. We have shown you the cost of attacking humanity. Now we offer you one chance to end this without further bloodshed. Surrender unconditionally, and this war ends today. The Vrexian leaders debated for hours. Some wanted to fight to the last ship. Others argued that surrender was their only option. The humans had proven they could destroy the entire fleet if they chose. Finally, Commander Thexral made the decision himself. He contacted Admiral Cole directly. I am Commander Thexral. I speak for the Vrexian military. We surrender unconditionally. What are your terms? Admiral Cole was silent for a moment. This was the decision he had been building toward for 18 months. He could destroy the Vrexian homeworld. He could take revenge for New Haven in the most complete way possible. No one would blame him. The Vrexians had shown no mercy to humanity, but Lisa Morgan's words echoed in his mind. We're better than they are. These are my terms, Cole said. The Vrexian collective will pay reparations to rebuild New Haven and compensate the families of those who died. You will reduce your military to 30% of its current size and accept human observers to ensure compliance. You will cede the territory where New Haven was located and recognize humanity's right to colonize that region. And most importantly, you will teach your children what happened. The massacre at New Haven will become part of your history curriculum. Every Vrexian child will learn about the price of unprovoked aggression. Thexral was surprised. He had expected far harsher terms. That's all? That's everything, Cole replied. We don't want to destroy your civilization. We want to make sure this never happens again to anyone. Your children need to understand what your leaders did and why it was wrong. If you agree to these terms, the war ends now. Thexral consulted with the civilian government. After an hour, they accepted. The war was over. The Galactic Council was stunned by humanity's terms. They had expected humanity to demand territory, resources, or political control. Instead, humanity had demanded education and memory. It was unlike anything the Council had seen before. Other species in the galaxy took notice. Humanity had proven they could fight and win against a major power, but they had also proven they could show restraint. They were strong but not cruel. They were determined but not bloodthirsty. It was a combination that earned respect. 3 years after the end of the war, Daniel Harris stood on New Haven again. The colony had been rebuilt with Vrexian labor and resources. The new buildings were even better than the originals. Families were moving back. Children were playing in parks. Life was returning. But in the center of the main settlement stood a memorial. It was a massive wall with 50,000 names carved into black stone, every person who had died in the massacre. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see it. The inscription at the bottom read, "Humanity remembers. Let all species remember them." Daniel visited the memorial every day. He would find the names of people he had known. His friends, his colleagues, the young officer Jacob Stone who had died buying time for others to escape. Lisa Morgan had returned to medical work, training new doctors on the rebuilt colony. She lived in a house near the memorial and would often see Daniel standing there reading.